Friends, Doc South here saying hey and welcome. Okay. Just wanted to, let me get that squared away. There you are. Gee, another memory of Chester, New Jersey. My first wife and I had a nice little antique shop. I think one of the first in town. There was an antique shop before us that I do believe was, oh gosh, it was on Route 24, between Chester and Long Valley. It was a really super antique shop. I mean, like museum quality stuff, if I recall right. Funny thing about the building was it had a tree growing through it. Yeah, the building's there, I think, still, but no tree. Well, the tree, after so many years, got pretty big. Maybe they needed it for firewood. I don't know, but they had a tree right up through, and that was a pretty good shop. But in the center of town, I'm pretty sure. Again, my wife and I had the somewhere in the late '60s. I think probably 1968, maybe late 1967, we had a shop in called the Splinter Shop, and it was a hub. Yeah, I think it was the first of many that would soon come, and other stores too. It was kind of cool in the old factory building, right across from the barber shop. I know I was growing my hair long then. I know the barber used to stand across the street and go, "Come on, come on." I said, "No, it ain't long enough yet." I don't think, poor guy. But in any case, enough said. The one thing that was kind of cool was the kids in town would sometimes come in. They'd dig up bottles. Yeah, they'd dig up old soda bottles. There was a company called Tippett's, I think, that worked out of Chester, and the kids would find these, in the fields around the borough. I guess what would happen is a farmer would be working his field, have himself a soda, and the bottle. I don't need the bottle. And he'd throw it off into into the woods, and the kids, or maybe had a garbage spot where he threw garbage, and the kids would search for these things and dig them up, clean them up, bring them in. We'd pay them, pretty good money for the bottles. I forget what the going rate was, but a enterprising kid, might pay $3 or $4 for one of those bottles. Back then, that would have been a very fair price. I think we got, we might mark them at 10, but usually wind up dropping to 7 or so. And, we had to clean them even more than the kids did, so it was fair. But then, one day, one of the kids the kids came marching in. It was all the street urchins in town. And there was plenty of them. I know Sandy doesn't recall, but I think Sandy used to come in. Of course, my wife Sandy, she would have been, oh, back then she would have been about 10 years old, something like that. And, and I think her and her buddies used to find these bottles and bring them to us, which was cool. I and they were fantastic to have. The but one day a kid come walking in, strutting in. I forget, probably about 10 years old, and he had an iron ball. He had an iron ball. It was, I'd say, well, okay, here's a CD. It was a little bit smaller than the CD in diameter, okay, and maybe by a half inch. So it was maybe about like that. And it weighed, oh gosh, 2 or 3 pounds at least. It was 2 or 3 pounds, perfectly round. And at first I'm looking at it, I said, well, that looks like some kind of strange ball bearing. They did a lot of mining of iron in Chester. And I figured maybe this is what they used to break up the iron ore. There might have, a bunch of these in a rolling hopper or something would maybe break up the iron ore. I don't know. Make it smaller pieces. That or they had guys, busting up the iron ore with rocks. I don't know. But these things, I just kept looking at them, and I think I said to my wife then, and I said, I wonder if these are, I wonder if these are cannonballs. I wonder if these kids have found themselves a stash of, because Chester was around the Revolutionary days. Maybe they made cannonballs, and these were hidden somewhere. So when the British came through town, they didn't find them. And the kids have. The kids did what the British troops couldn't do, and eventually we decided, well, let's call an expert. So a guy comes over, he looks at him, he says, "My God," he says, "those are cannonballs." He says, I think they're from I think he said a 3-pounder or a 2-pounder gun. He said these things really pack a wallop. They wouldn't explode. He said, but they sure knock down your down. The walls of a fort. You fire enough at them, enough of them at the fort. Heck yeah. And he would buy them off us. He said they were worth really about $12. Not a whole lot. They were relatively common in Jersey. But he said, "God, any you get, let me know. Let me know." And so the kids, so we had quite a trade going. The kids were getting $3 or $4. We'd sell them to this guy for anywhere from, depending on the size and condition, 7 to 9. And this guy, heaven knows, probably doing okay with them at antique shows or gun shows. So everybody was winning, and it was kind of neat. And we had quite a little trade going. The kids. Oh, and then the guy who ran the candy store, Mr. Leck up the street, he was doing the land office business too, because the kids would head right up for the candy. And so yeah, it was. Gosh, it was the American business model at its finest. At its finest. And then what happened one day? An old timer from across the street came by. I think he lived behind the. I want to say Mr. Treadway's barber shop. I think Treadway was the name. And this old timer, he'd come in. He kind of thought my wife Molly was pretty, so he always and she was. He'd like to hobnob with her and stuff, and me. But one day he comes strutting, and again he drank a bit. This fella, I don't know his name. But he'd stagger in now and then and just kind of, yak for a bit. But one day he comes stumbling in and he's got this hat. He's got a hat. And I remember saying, "My gosh, look at that thing. It looks like an old fireman's hat." He said, "I think it is." Oh, yeah. And he says, "Yeah, I think it is." And let me describe it. It looked, how a fireman's hat has the lobster tail down the back and usually kind of a pointy top for it, so it sits over your head to protect as much of your brain area as possible, and usually has a bit of a visor, to keep the sparks out of your face. Okay, well, that's sort of what this hat looked like, only it was made of metal, and it didn't have any cushioning inside it. It just it had some, but nothing like a fire hat would have. I remember looking at that thing, and I said, "Well, where'd you get this?" He says, I got it out of a garbage can. So I was walking around town. I saw it in the garbage. I said, "Well, that's nice. Pretty cool." And he says, "Hey, you take $5 for it?" I said, "Well, you sure? It might be worth more than that." He says, "Well, I don't know. I have $5. It'd be good." I said, "Well, make it 10. Okay, I'll take 10. And so we give him 10. We got the hat. I put, I think, $20 on it and set it up on the shelf. And there it sat. And I'm thinking, boy, I really goofed up on this. Everybody's walking right by it. Sometimes someone would put it on their head and, "Hey, where's the fire?" and all this. And they were upset that it wasn't, for a fireman's helmet, it wasn't in good shape. Well, one day a friend of ours come running in the store with an encyclopedia in her hand. And she says, look, where's that iron hat, that metal hat?" I said, "Well, it's up on the top shelf where it's been for the last 4 months." She says, get it down, get it down. And we're looking, and she says, here, look at this guy in this picture. And I think it was a drawing of, a very detailed drawing of a soldier from Cromwell's time in England. Yeah. And he's wearing the hat. He is wearing that. He could have jumped out of the page and said, okay, give me my hat back right now. Yeah. It was a helmet. It was an handmade armor helmet from around the year 1690. Yeah, 16 freaking 90. And oh my God. And whoa, let's call that guy who buys the cannonballs. Maybe he'll know something about it. Well, we called him up, and he lived, I think, over near Dover, New Jersey. We could hear him peeling out all the way from Dover. And coming, he was here, and he was in our store in 15 minutes. He says, let me see that helmet. Oh my God, he says, that is. He says, this is a handmade, look, there's rivets, and there's the earpieces with some leather on them to keep the guy's ears a little warmer. Yeah, he says, and then here's that part, this metal piece that goes down protects him from a sword blow to the eyes. You've got a Cromwellian armor helmet. He says, chances are the guy it probably came in the 1700s, some guy probably came over here and wore it because he thought he'd need it, fighting Indians or something. He says, oh my God. He says, I'll give you $250 for it. I said, 250? Whoa. He says, and that's a good price. He says, I'm going to mark it up, but he said it's not worth 20,000 or nothing. But he says this, and again, remember that was 2 months' rent in our store, at least for one section. So man, I'm thinking, oh my God, and he bought it off us, doggone, and was found in the garbage somewhere in Chester back in the day, or the guy may have found it, out in the woods somewhere. Heaven knows. He was all over town. Much of it, I don't think he remembered where he was, but we gave him some extra money, and we had plenty, to foot some of the bills at least for a while. It was pretty cool. But yeah, in Chester, you never know. You never know what the heck you're going to find. It was pretty neat. Anyway, yeah, that was an old Splinter Shop memory, and danged if it wasn't true. Worked out pretty good. And the cannonballs, actually, I don't know if I guess kids don't go out in the woods anymore. They're all, they're all on their phone, I suppose. But these kids, till they were, I'd get 11 or 12 years old, and we finally moved away. They were always popping in with a cannonball or two. Yep. So anyway, I guess there's still some out there. And those doggone bottles, the Tippett bottles, I guess now they go for a pretty penny, but back then, we were getting fair price for them and paying fair price. So anyway, there you go. We'll see you later. Again, good old Chester, home of my youth. We'll see you later, friends. God bless.